Hello to everyone, and welcome back to Multifamily Mastery. This is the podcast where I take you on a journey in multifamily investing as a complete beginner and hopefully end up somewhere someday. I'm your host, Jonathan Zook, and once again, welcome. All right, today I am honored, extremely honored to have the Pili Yarusi here on my podcast. Why don't you go introduce yourself?
The Pili Yarusi. I don't think I've had such a great intro in a very long time. So, hi everyone. Aloha. I'm Pili Yarusi. I am the co-founder of Yarusi Holdings and of Seven Figure Multifamily. Yarusi Holdings is our holdings company, mine and my husband's Jason Yarusi. And we have over, I think it's 230 million assets currently under management. Somewhere over 2,000 units acquired total. My main focus within our company, though, is relationship building and the education of our investors, more known as the capital raise. But this is what I focus on. This is what I believe in. This is the best way I know how to help people within the industry. And with Seven Figure Multifamily, my coaching program, I do the same. I educate investors who want to get on the active side of investing, who want to take their real estate journey to the next level. I am really, really honored to be on your podcast. Thank you so much, Jonathan.
Yeah, so they do it big. Let's just say that. No matter how humble they are, they're big time out here. So, all right, why are relationships so important in multifamily real estate?
I mean, everything is built on relationship. So much so in multifamily, especially multifamily syndications. So a syndication is basically the pooling of investors' funds to purchase an asset. You can really purchase anything. For me, and for me and my husband, it is large multifamily apartments. We also do storage and some small multifamily, but mostly our most of our portfolio is large multifamily apartments. So the main focus in syndication and why I started really honing in on the relationship and education of it is because the SEC requires us to. It is there in the rules that to do a Reg D, this is what we work under the Securities Administration, under Reg D 506B, if we want to bring in non-accredited investors, then I have to make sure, and I can only bring in 35 of them, I have to make sure that they are educated, that they are well versed financially, and I have to make sure that they understand what they're getting into. So, how better to do this than to educate them from the first place and to build a relationship with them? Because my passive investors, also known as limited partners, are just that, they're partners. So I want to make sure that as partners, and when they get into this partnership, that they know how to look at an asset, that they know the numbers, that they know everything that there is to know about the asset, and above all, that they know myself and my husband. Because although I fully believe that the asset and the numbers have to work, you are really investing in the people who are running the asset. So for anyone out there who's looking at investments, make sure that the people that you're investing with are really important. Make sure the people that you're investing with are good, because that's the most important thing, the most important, I would say, level of investing in real estate syndications or really anything. So that's why relationship building is so important.
Okay, so would you say, especially in multifamily, that relationships are one of, if not the most important thing that you can pursue, basically?
Oh yes, that's the most important thing. So whether or not you're just starting or you're a seasoned pro, just build relationships. I like to tell people everything you need is right here in your phone. That little like box that you have with all those contacts, how many of those contacts have you not touched in years, decades even? I would go through those contacts and like drop people a line and this is not you raising capital. This is you building relationships to see if there's anyone that you already know that needs your help, that could use your services. And this can start now. You don't even have to know how to do multifamily to create a relationship. You should decide now that you're going to reach out to as many people as possible, that you're just going to be a good person, be a good neighbor, talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, see how they're doing. In fact, start a spreadsheet. And I know this sounds really, I used to think it was really crass keeping notes on my friends and family. But this is what I need to organize these thoughts, because I'm not going to remember everyone's birthdays. I'm not going to remember everyone's kids' names. I'm not going to remember all this stuff. Or I'm not going to remember, for any of you who meet people online, like meet people on video games or meet people through Facebook, through Instagram, through Stitch, through whatever it is that we meet people on. Keep a spreadsheet of everyone you know, and how you know them, where you know them from, some things you have in common. Because if you're thinking about getting into multifamily, this will come in handy. Especially keep note of any time you mention real estate and if they're interested in real estate. Because in the future, even if this person, say, especially for you, Jonathan, some of your friends may not have millions of dollars that they can invest right now, but it doesn't mean that they won't in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. So when that time happens, and your friend who right now you're in high school with, or your friend that you might know in college who is getting his finance degree, you want to be the person that he turns to, the person that he goes like, oh my goodness, wait a minute, my friend Jonathan Zook had that podcast and he was just learning multifamily. Dude, I want to invest with that guy. And Joe Schmo gives you a call out of the blue. If you go on your spreadsheet and you're like, oh my goodness, there's Joe Schmo. I knew him from college while I was in high school. He was in college getting his finance degree. I can start talking about what he's doing now and how I can help him grow his wealth. So it's all about relationships. The moment you decide to create better relationships in your life is the moment you really start to help people.
Yeah. So basically, you're saying, yes, you need to be friends with the people, but then you can never expect for them to be like, hey, I have money. Do you want the money to invest? If you never actually talk with them about real estate. So yes, you have to have the relationship with them, but also like talk with them about that kind of thing. So
Yes, at some point you're going, and the thing is, that's why you create the relationship. So you can create the trust, so you can start talking about money and finances. And the great thing for you, Jonathan, is that you're already getting yourself out there on this platform, talking to people about how you're starting off your journey. People can follow you on this incredible journey you're just going on. And they're going to have this trust that they wouldn't if they didn't know that you were going on this financial journey. Because yes, you're focused in on multifamily, but this is really a financial and wealth journey for you. This is you figuring out now how to get that time freedom that most people like my age don't have. So many people that I know are stuck to their desks, are stuck to their 9-to-5s, are stuck in something that they don't necessarily want to be in, and they have to learn to live in it and with it. And now they're just pulling themselves out. But you are starting from a place where you can build this foundation and grow it from there.
So you mentioned syndication, and what are kind of the different roles that it comes in a syndication?
Perfect. So I did mention my role is primarily as the capital raiser. So there's 2 other really distinctive, well, 4, but the 4th everyone within the team should be doing. So I believe the primary, well, can't really live with without either of them. But you need your acquisitions guy or gal. You need acquisitions. This is the person who is calling the brokers, who is looking at deals constantly. My partner, one of my partners, Chad King, and also my husband, Jason, they look at properties consistently. They are talking to brokers every single day. They are getting to the brokers who have, or the sellers who have the deals. They're underwriting the deals. They're putting out the offers to get to their closed deal, for me to raise that capital for. But you got to have that acquisitions guy, that acquisition specialist, the guy that knows how to talk to those brokers and to the sellers, who can get those contracts out, that can get the offers out and get it done. Next up is the asset manager. Without a good asset manager, you are sunk. If you don't have someone that can take that amazing property that the acquisition specialist acquired, incomes as soon as your asset manager is usually working hand in hand with the acquisitions person. Once the acquisitions person has like sort of a yellow light, go slow, maybe this is when will happen, the asset manager comes in and starts helping to do due diligence, starts helping to look at the numbers, starts giving another take on the numbers, and starts really honing in with your acquisitions person, with the deliberations of getting to closing. Once closing happens, that asset manager has that asset in hand and needs to be on it, because he is in charge of the reposition of the property, of taking the property and taking the business plan and actually implementing that business plan. Third one is the capital raiser. We already talked extensively about her. Fourth one is due diligence. So due diligence should be taken on by all general partners. Due diligence is also something that the capital raiser will really have a big hand in, because he or she can't just be a hired gun. For instance, someone can't just call me up and say, hey, Pili, can you find money for my deal? No, I actually have to be a part of the general partnership, and I have to have a hand in something else within the jobs of the syndication. So I can be also one of the asset managers. I can help with acquisitions. A lot of times, Chad, one of our acquisition specialists and partner, he will bring capital. Jason will bring capital. Our partner, Bill Allen, will bring capital, but he'll also be on the due diligence side. And we all work as a team to push this past closing and into the reposition of the property. Did that answer your question?
Yes, very, very
Perfect.
thoroughly. So, for the listeners, there is the main kind of one of the key differences between multifamily and single family is with single family, it's kind of more like competitive. It's like one man versus another. And by the way, single family is like a house, or like it's basically a house with one family living in it. Multifamily is different. That's like apartments, duplexes, stuff like that, where multiple people are all kind of living under the same roof and in the same area. So, how does multifamily differ from single family as far as partnerships go?
As partnerships go. So we started off in single family. Like Jonathan, I can say without a doubt, with just a little bit of education, you could probably go out there and buy your first single family house and probably do okay. I mean, interest rates are kind of iffy and the market's really, really, really difficult. But it's like a single person's thing for the most part, if you want to get into it. It's also it's not as easy as they show on HGTV. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of getting out there, doing it alone, being alone, and really, really just putting your elbow grease into it, at least when you first get started. So that's how Jason and I first started. I got my real estate license. Jason didn't. We started flipping and wholesaling homes back in 2013. And we did these huge renovations. Like Jason's family had a house lifting company. So we used to actually take houses, lift them off their foundations, fix the foundation, build a new foundation, and in essence, now you had a whole completely different house. So we took it in even step further. We would lift up the house, lift up again, make a new basement or garage underneath the house, make a new first floor, and then have the original house at the top, thereby going from a Cape Cod style house to an colonial. So we did that a couple times before we realized that we weren't making as much money as we could. We were spending so much time on it, and we were creating another job for ourselves. Also, running them as a rental. So one of our first rentals was actually two of our first rentals were in, this is when we learned how to do quicker flips. Two of our first rentals were 2 duplexes in Indiana. They were great, but anytime something went wrong, anytime we had a vacancy, that was 1 unit out of 4, so 25% of our income gone from that property. So I've hit on a couple of things. I've hit on economies of scale, which I'll go further into, and I hit on the work that's involved as like a single entrepreneur going into single family. Multifamily, you already hit on this earlier. Multifamily is a partnership game. It's about finding the right partners. It's about finding that person who excels at acquisitions, finding that person that excels at asset management, finding that person that excels at raising capital, and all those people being smart enough to do the due diligence and making sure the numbers work and getting it to closing and into the reposition. And above all, being great fiduciaries for our investors' money. So that's number one. It's the partnerships. Go ahead, Jonathan. You were gonna.
What is a fiduciary? Whatever.
Fiduciary. It's someone who takes care of. And as a real estate agent, this is why I think real estate agents. So if you're a real estate agent out there, you're listening to this. This is good for you. That's why I think real estate agents make good capital raisers, is because we have our client or investors' life and what is the word I'm looking for? We have our investors' goals ahead of ourselves. We put our investors first. So that's what it means to be a fiduciary. It means that financially, I want them to go ahead. I put them in front of whatever my personal goals are. Does that make sense? So the second thing, to go back to why multifamily is so much better, can we say that? Is the economies of scale. So I mentioned one way. Another way is, if you think about it, like you have one single family house, and let's just go with the fourplex that I had. Even though I would lose 25% of my income if we had one vacancy, if you only had one single family house, that is 100% of your income gone if you can't rent that home. So you have that in the economies of scale. Plus, with a fourplex, especially if it's under one roof, you have one roof to take care of. You have one complex to take care of. Now, if you times that, let's go from 4, let's go to 40, or even like 100. So when Jason and I took down our first multifamily, we went from those 2 duplexes, and we also had a beach rental. 2 duplex in Indiana and a beach rental in New Jersey. We went from that to 93 units. And I want to say that 93 unit apartment building, which we've already exited, was so much easier to run than our 4 duplexes in Indiana. We had less heartache. The apartment complex, the community, took care of itself because we could hire on-site staff for this. We didn't have to hire like run-of-the-mill plumbers to come fix something at a huge expense. We could actually hire someone, have someone on staff. We could hire property managers. We didn't have to fix toilets. We didn't have to do all of this stuff. And everything could be done in-house because we could take care of it. And instead of having, let's say, if you had 100 single-family homes versus 100-unit building, which one do you think is easier to take care of? With a 100-unit single-family portfolio, You could have one property manager, but that property manager would be really expensive because they would have to run to all of the little single family homes all over the place. Whereas if you had 100 unit building, you have one property manager, one maintenance guy to take care of the entire building, one leasing office to take care of the entire building. So those are just some of the ways that makes multifamily. So I don't want to even say easier, but a lot smarter than single family.
Kind of like easier to build up as well over time. All right, going back to that's all amazing stuff, by the way. Going back to relationships, what is the most important thing that you can do to gain and maintain more relationships, especially in the real estate side of things?
So we talked a lot about going into your personal sphere of influence, people that are already in your phone, people that you already know. So if you're trying to expand and get out to more people, number one, treat the people that you know already really well. Word of mouth is the best way to go. Like you could have a following of a kabillion people, but if people don't trust you, you might be popular, but they're not going to give you their money. They're not going to ask you to be a fiduciary for your money. They're not going to ask you to help their money grow because you're not treating them well personally. So why would you treat them well financially? So treat people that you already know how you would want to be treated. Help them out now, however you can help them out. Teach them about what you do and grow with them and for them. And then you help their friends and their friends' friends. And you keep on building your sphere that way. Another way you can do it, we have the amazing social media. And you are already starting a podcast. You've already started your podcast. We're here. And so this is one great way to get out because this allows you to get people educated, to get people to know you, to get people to understand your journey and come along to the journey with you. So that's what Jason and I did. As must have been a month or two after we closed that 93 unit, we started our first podcast. And it was called the Real Estate Investing Foundation Podcast. So I know long names as well. We used to call it the RI Foundation Podcast. And it turned into the Multifamily Podcast or the Multifamily Foundation Podcast. And then it turned into the Jason and Pili Project. And then now it's Multifamily Live. So let yourself change as you grow. Another way to grow and maintain is to just simply be yourself. Everyone else is taken. So when you're on social media, if you could have 3 followers, you could have 300,000. Thing is, within those 300,000 followers, if you don't have people really engaging and really following you for your content, then that's going to go nowhere. But if you have 3 absolutely amazing followers who follow you into your deals, who help you raise capital, who become partners, maybe general partners, maybe limited partners, but you want to grow with the people that you bring along on this journey with you. You want to make sure that you are checking in with people, that you are maintaining those relationships that you already have, and that you're growing into the relationships that you could have into the future. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep. Sweet. Well, I think that's about all we got. This has been super insightful. I'm super happy to have you on here. I really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you. And if any of your listeners want to find me, you can find me over at 2 places, actually. You can, if you're looking at the coaching program that Noah is currently in, you can check us out at www.7figuremultifamily.com. Or if you want to learn more about how to invest with myself and my husband, just go to Yarusi, that's my last name, holdings.com. And you can learn more about investing there.
So this episode has been with Pili Yarusi. Absolutely honored to have her on here, and I will see you guys next week.